Okay, so we're going to continue evaluating expressions for today as well. The most important thing when you're evaluating expressions is when you substitute a variable with a numerical value, you need to include parentheses. So we have to put parentheses around each variable. Okay, so they're always going to give you what they want you to substitute the variables with what values. So let's start with the first example. They want us to substitute A with 2, B with 4, and C with 7. So within the problem, I'm literally going to rewrite the problem, but instead of the variables, going to substitute with the numerical values. So for A, I'm going to put parentheses 2. B is parentheses 4. Squared outside the parentheses. It is a part of B, not both. Plus parentheses 7 for C. And all you have to do after that is type it into your calculator as you've written it. So parentheses 2, parentheses, close parentheses, parentheses 4, close parentheses, squared is x squared over on the left, plus parentheses 7. Hit enter and you've got 39. Okay. The second one, they want me to substitute all the x's with -2, and that means both because it's the same value. You do not have to put 3 in parentheses because it was a part of the problem to begin with. We only put parentheses around the variables that we replace. So 3, then parentheses -2. This is where that squared is very important. You don't want to put squared inside the parentheses. You want to put it outside the parentheses. And I'll show you in the calculator what makes a difference. Minus 4 parentheses -2 again. Okay, so I'm going to type it in as I see it. Be careful with negatives and subtraction signs. Make sure you know the difference. So 3 parentheses -2 parentheses squared. Notice the squared is outside the parentheses. Minus 4 parentheses -2. Okay, type it in just like I wrote it. And my answer is 20. Now let's say I put the parentheses inside, or the squared inside the parentheses instead of outside. This is where it becomes important. So if I made the mistake and I put squared inside the parentheses instead of outside, but the rest was the same, I do get a different answer. So because there is a difference between -2 times -2 and -2 times 2. So you have to be very careful distinguishing that. So use outside the parentheses. I'm going to continue. Okay, so you may not need all of these examples, but I'm just going to go ahead and break it down for you. So if you notice 1 and 2 are the same expression, I'm just going to focus on the left side because the substitution should be the same, just different numerical values. So if I start with number 1 over here, I'm going to substitute A with 3 and B with -4. Starting with A, parentheses 3. A is squared, so outside the parentheses. B is -4. Minus B again, which is -4. And squared outside the parentheses, okay? Then I just type it in. Be careful with negatives and subtractions. Parentheses -4. Minus parentheses -4 parentheses squared. I know it's a lot of parentheses involved, but it makes your life a whole lot easier. Hit enter and you do get a -52. Okay, next they want me to substitute. I'm going to just skip to number 3. I'm not going to do number 4 because it is the same expression, just different numerical values. So when I start with number 3, so this one can be a little tricky, and let me explain why. If you notice, number 3 starts with -y. So I still have to include that negative in the expression, but I'm going to put it first. Then I substitute the y, which is 2, so parentheses 2, okay? And then square it. So I wrote it the same way, I just replaced the y. So notice just the negatives out in front, not inside the parentheses. That makes a huge difference as well. Minus 3, parentheses -4, parentheses 2, okay? So I just type it in like I see it. Negative parentheses 2 squared minus 3 parentheses -4 parentheses 2. Hit enter and I get +20. Okay. On the back, Again, 5 and 6 are the same expression, just different numerical values. So I'm just going to focus on number 5. We may have already gone through these in class, so I will actually do number 6. So they want me to substitute a and b with -3 and -5. It is a huge fraction, think of it that way. So I'm going to start with the numerator. A, they want me to substitute parentheses -3 squared plus b, which is -5, parentheses -5 squared. That's all in the numerator. And then the denominator, a, which is parentheses -3, minus parentheses b is -5, okay? So then I type it in like one big fraction, so I do alpha y1 and type in exactly like I wrote it. Parentheses -3, parentheses squared, plus -5, parentheses squared. On the denominator, parentheses -3 minus parentheses -5. Signs are very important, so be extra careful. You hit enter and you get positive 17, okay? Okay, so last two problems. Again, for number 7, A and B are asking you to use the same expression, but different numerical values. And if we go ahead and if we did A in class, I'm going to go ahead and just do B, okay, to break it up in case we did A in class. So if I start with number 7, okay, x, I'm going to substitute with parentheses -3 squared minus 2. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. So when you have parentheses in the problem, you still have to include those parentheses. So what I'm going to do is just make these like extra large parentheses, okay? So inside the parentheses, I need to substitute x with -3. And anytime we substitute, we have to put parentheses. So I'm going to have parentheses inside parentheses. It's really, really strange, but it's what needs to be done. Minus y, which I need to substitute with 4. So I'm going to do parentheses 4. Okay, so it looks really, really crazy, but it's what you need to do to substitute whenever you have parentheses already in the problem. Minus z, which is -1 in parentheses. And this time they want me to cube it, which means to the 3rd power. So I'm going to go a little slow, but of course you can go back and replay this. So I'm going to type this crazy looking expression in. Okay, start at the beginning. That's why it's really important that you write it down first, so that way it makes it a little easier on you later. So I go parentheses -3, parentheses squared, minus 2. Now, yes, this is double parentheses. So you need to hit open, open parentheses, -3, close parentheses, minus, open, 4, close, close, okay? So even though the parentheses aren't ginormous like mine are when I wrote it, that's just visually for me, I like to do that. So see if it helps you. Minus, parentheses, -1. Now instead of, since the root is 3, I can't hit x squared. I have to hit to the power of, which is above the division sign, which I call carrot top, and then I can put any exponent I want. So I hit enter. And after all of that, I get a simple answer as 24. Okay, last but not least, I know it's a lot, we're almost there. We might have done A in class, so I'm going to focus on just B, using this expression as well. Notice the A in front has a negative, so I do have to include that negative first, but then I replace A with -3, so the -3 goes in parentheses. So I know it looks crazy because it's a negative, but you've got to write it that way. Squared minus 2, B is with parentheses -5, C is parentheses 2 right next to each other, minus C, which is 2 squared. And then I'm going to just type that in just like I wrote it. Negative parentheses, -3, close parentheses, squared, minus 2, parentheses, -5, close parentheses, parentheses, 2, close parentheses, minus parentheses 2, close parentheses, squared. Woo, okay. Hit enter, and you, after all of that, you get a number 7.